What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
Hello, this is the CFF All Access Podcast. I'm Eric Froton with Josh Chevalier and Michael Bainbridge. And like I said on Twitter, put out the call. We have some form of props to discuss. We have conference leaders. The Power Four has been released over there on Bet Rivers. So if it's going to be released, we're going to talk about it here now, aren't we? Specifically, why these have been a pretty bankable profit center for the three of us, definitely myself and Michael, over the past 4 years, and not specifically as much the conference stuff, even though that's always fun to wade into, but with the season-long player props that we're also familiar with that dovetail so nicely with college fantasy football. And really, college fantasy was the genesis of how I got into the college football player prop market. I'd never really gotten into I was never a gambler. Through 2018, I had just played college fantasy football and then started writing for NBC when these kind of started becoming to the forefront, and when DraftKings and FanDuel and then PrizePicks, they started really getting into this market. And it was a place that was, the first season I hit 71%. It was, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff they had out then. They took advantage of the fact that a lot of people didn't understand the markets and understand really how to exploit them. But a few people did, and we did well. Now, obviously, they try to be a little more standardized. We'd have a lot more variance in terms of the lines. You really have, they kind of fall in lockstep now in general. But upon those opens, you can always get great value. And with the season-long props last year, which is what we're really looking forward to in the next few weeks coming out, a major profit center. In terms of our hit rate, myself, Michael, most profitable, our hit rate for the past 3 years, the best hit rate we have on anything, including the bowls, which gets wild, is the season-long props. Now, as a couple of examples, that I'll start with, and then I'll pitch it over to Michael and kind of get it with him. I know Josh wasn't as involved last year, but just out of the gate, there's variance in what we're going to see in the season-long market between book to book. It's not as standardized, right? So when these are first out within that first week, you're going to see examples like Sam Hartman last year is the one that I'll use. Some books were pricing him on Wake Forest Sam Hartman, not Notre Dame Sam Hartman. The good thing was there were books that priced him properly. So we were able to get, I believe, almost an 800-yard spread. I think it went from almost 2,600 to 3,400, somewhere in that range. Might have been a little tighter than that, but I know it was in the 600-yard spread range between the high and the low in terms of variance between books. And that was, it was essentially both sides. You're getting it free money. It hits, and it was perfect. It worked as entertained. Additionally, you had other stuff that was just simply way off base market-wise. Dorian Singer, right? Transfers from Arizona, had, I believe, 1,100 yards the previous season, opposite of Jacob Cowing. Jed Fish's system, comes right in, transfers over to USC, and it's like, okay, he's going to be Jordan Addison this year. Well, that did not happen. He was priced up at, did he start around 900? I want to say 899 and a half. Is that correct, Michael?
Yep.
Yeah. Take it. So,
Sorry. He started at 1,000 and a half.
Oh, my God. He started at 999 and a half. Dorian Singer, what do you have, like 300 last year? Yeah, it was obscene. And it was the same with Mario Williams. The market was drastically overpriced on USC wide receivers. Mario Williams, I believe he might have been $799, at least $750. At least $750, I know that he was at. But I think he started $799. $749, $699, and it just eventually he just went off the board. Like you couldn't put it low enough for him with the influx of talent they had coming in, especially Zachariah Branch, right? What were some other examples off the top of your head, Michael, of value that we were able to extract from those season long?
I do have our handy dandy spreadsheet that we track all this up right now.
I
can just read them off. There is some red there, but most notable to me, and I think I'm always going to suggest this when doing season-long props, obviously football injuries occur, right? I don't think, unless there is a glaring mistake, I do not want to take an over on any skill position player, as tempting as they might be. Yeah, we went over on like Malachi Corley, and we just missed that last year. But I'm looking at it, and it's like the Dorian Singer, Brock Bowers under 775.5, Johnny Wilson under. I went over mistake, obviously, on Trey Benson, as tempting as it is at 950.5. Like, he obviously didn't get the usage that I expected. And then just another example, Emeka Ibuka, as tempting as it is, Ohio State wide receiver. These skill position players get injured far more often than quarterbacks. You are going to hunt the unders, in my opinion, with the skill position players.
And you bring up Malachi Corley. What a great example, because he missed one game early in the season. I think he missed game 2. And he was great. He was ripping it up every other game in the season. And then finally, the final game, he has 50 yards in the first half. We needed 30 more. I think it was like 32 we needed to beat the number. And he didn't play the entire second half. It was like, oh my God, what are you doing to me?
What happened with that? I don't remember. Did he pull himself out? Or no? What was it?
I do not recall. I think he did. I think he did. I think he just went out and be like, oh, suit it up one more time, and then that's a wrap. That's my impression. But because I saw him at the Senior Bowl, he won, the wide receiver MVP for his team at the Senior Bowl. So he was fine physically, and that was a month and a half later from when we're talking here. So yeah, that was a heartbreaker, but it serves to go. That's an over. Some notable overs, definitely Malik Neighbors. He was 899.5. Remember, where he was sitting. Michael, you were not a guy. I did take his over. He screamed over it. Marvin Harrison originally, remember, he was first listed at 999.5. And in Dorian Singer in territory. Are you kidding? That was a nice, easy over as well.
Xavier Worthy.
Worthy was 700.
Yeah, there was more than number there. Again, I'm now contradicting myself, taking it over on a skill position player. But when you get a Xavier Worthy at 700, an obscene number, right?
You have to. You have to take it. And we did play both sides of Brock Bowers too, because we got on Bet Rivers. He was 775 open over on Prize Picks. Bet Rivers, he was 550.5. I think I got it at. I think is where it was on the sheet. Is that correct? This is off memory.
Around there, yeah. Around.
It was right in that fight, and I'm like, dude, 550 for Brock Bowers. Yeah, and we middled it because that's a pretty good spot to be in. You're going to get that kind of spread occasionally, where you won't get that the same way during the season. You won't get that huge hundreds of yards, variance of the season long. Also, what'll happen is with running backs. Keep in mind with running backs, depth charts, guys. I mean, they're so fungible. Wide receivers, you play 3 of them. They're out there all the time in college. You have 3 out there constantly, right? Running back, you usually get 1. You get a rotation. Injuries, even way more so than receivers. Sean Tyler was at 899.5 from Minnesota. Western Michigan transfer. Oh, yeah. He's 180 pounds, scat back. He's going to go for 900 in Minnesota's up. Stop it. Just stop it. So those are just off the top of our heads, really, some of the incredible values. And I will leave you with KJ Jefferson. Here's a good one for you, Mike. I was looking up some numbers the other day, and this popped out to me. We took KJ Jefferson. He opened 10.5 rushing touchdowns. 10.5 rushing touchdowns for KJ Jefferson. Pounded the hell out of that over. Do you know, Mike, that Arkansas as a team only had 9 rushing touchdowns on the entire season? Right? So, yeah, let's just say we invested heavily in that particular play, and for very good reason. So it's all over the board. There's value all over the board. Don't leave any particular, arena untouched when these do eventually come out for the season-long props, and we'll certainly be there to discuss it. I believe, now that we're at 9:35, it's probably time for our first break, so we will take that right now. Take it, Josh.
Yeah, I want to start off this show with just a quick question. Josh had a question here. Where are the prop bets to look at? And so, I think you guys are obviously the experts at the places to find these. So where do you guys find the best prop bets?
Thank you, Mike.
Not DraftKings because they banned me every single time I get there. I'm never giving them business again. I can't give them business anymore. Bet Rivers is that's my preferred choice. Even though now I went to go bet one of the props that we're gonna talk about, and I can get down 95 cents. That's how much I can get down at this point. So we'll have to figure that out here in the next 2 weeks. Bet Rivers, if I'm just looking at our sheet that me and Proton kind of track over the offseason, if you can access it, Bet Rivers was the most profitable for us. It just had the widest range, it had the widest range of players available. I think DraftKings and FanDuel were kind of aligned with what players they released, but I'm just looking at some Bet Rivers one. You got the KJ Jefferson that you mentioned. Will Howard, I don't know, was available elsewhere but Bet Rivers.
You're right.
I certainly know that Blake Shapen, which we got, was not available anywhere outside of Bet Rivers. So if that is available to you, that is my preferred option. And they're slow on limiting you if you get to that point too. So highly suggest that app.
For the record, Michael, what was the bet that got you/us limited on that again?
It was the Frank Harris one where we got the intel about the.
It was Frank Harris.
And they were just doing ladders everywhere on his under. Just
spam Frank Harris plays. Like, he is not playing the full game. Stop it. He's not doing it. And finally, literally, it was a fervor where they literally had to hold him out because of it. Because we whipped it up into a frenzy. I mean, I'm sorry. We went full ham on Frank Harris.
That was the intel we got. Was he's going to get like one honorary drive in the bowl game against Marshall, which just never transpired.
And they're like, no, we can't. It's going to cost everybody's going to pound, and we already did. There was so much on it.
Now my new wife is going to be creating a Bet Rivers account for us. So
hey, here, Mike. Come on now. Move on from this line of discussion.
We don't even need advertisement for this show. Why should you listen to the show? Because the two people to my right and below me have gotten canceled on these sites because they're so good at doing it.
Are you kidding me? New Hampshire wouldn't allow prop betting on any college football past week 8 because it got absolutely destroyed at all 5 brick and mortar locations. You couldn't place one. You couldn't place a bet in New Hampshire.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we'll see if we can this year. I don't know.
Yeah. So today,
Island's great. If you guys in the Northeast, which is a honey hole, you get New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire. Like boom, 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 boom. If you're in any combination of that pocket, that's the money belt.
Man, if we could all live in Massachusetts, man.
In Kansas. Oh, I live in San Diego. What are you talking about?
Yes.
The cottage is in Rhode Island, so I just went to the cottage for a while.
That's awesome.
Family cottage. 100 years, by the way. 100-year anniversary this year for the Anderson. That's my mom's side family cottage for when we bought the deed. So big
awesome.
big family reunion on July 21st. I get to stop by and say hi to the cousins from Ohio.
There you go.
A lot of Ohio State at the cottage. Just beware.
That's awesome. Well, hey, tonight we have the season-long leaders of betting odds that have been released, like you guys are talking about here on Bet Rivers. And so we picked kind of our favorites each of these to talk about, the ones that we thought were going to be the most fun. And so the first one that we have up tonight is the ACC passing leaders. And so Bet Rivers has pretty much every QB available in the conference up there. And so I'm going to read some of these off to you just so you know what we're going to be talking about here. But passing yards leader for 24-25 ACC, they have Cam Ward as the top one at plus 400. You have Haynes King at plus 500. Cade Klubnik at plus 600. You have Grace McCall at plus 700. Malik Murphy's at plus 900. Tyler Shuck at plus 1,000. And then you have Preston Stone at plus 1,200. Max Johnson at plus 1,500. Kyle McCord at plus 1,800. Nate Yarnell from Pitt at plus 2,000. And then Ashton Daniels from Stanford at plus 2,000. Kyron Jones from Virginia Tech at plus 2,500. Thomas Castellanos paired with our boy Bill O'Brien plus 2,500 at BC. And then Hank Bachmeyer at Wake Forest plus 4,000. And then Fernando Mendoza from Cal at plus 5,000. And last but certainly not least, hopefully he will not be the starting quarterback for UVA, Tony Muskett at plus 5,000. So, hey, what stood out to you guys when you guys looked at this? What did you guys see as the best values here when you looked initially at the ACC passing leader props?
Yeah, what stood out to me, and you know, if our viewers are going to bet this, and you know, hopefully they're obviously college fantasy football advocates, I think the top tier of fantasy quarterbacks are probably not the options to go with here. The Thomas Castellanos, the Kyron Drones of the world. They're obviously dual threats. They're going to score a lot of fantasy points, but I highly doubt that they're, you know, capable enough passers to lead this conference in passing yards. So I had two choices singled out. One, Tyler Shuck, Froton's favorite.
It's good odds. You know,
10-1 odds.
He owes us money. I mean, I'm happy to make money off him.
Well,
you know?
yeah, this is his chance to pay us back, right?
It is.
10-1 odds, and obviously I'm going to promote the CFF site projections. He is the highest projected passer in the ACC for us in terms of passing yards. This is all assuming he stays healthy, correct? That's been his bugaboo the last 2 years, is the shoulder and collarbone injuries, right? This is a Jeff Brom offense. You're going to be top 10, top 20 in passing rate. I in my opinion, Louisville is going to be kind of revert back to being more pass happy this year. Obviously, they weren't with Isaac Arendo last year and Jawar Jordan, right? A couple of 1,000-yard backs. You're not doing that this year with Maurice Turner and Don Chaney, right? It's just not going to happen. So I think, you know, Tyler Shuck, assuming he stays healthy, you know, has a really good chance at these odds to lead the conference in passing. If you go back to Jeff Brom at Purdue, just singling out the last 2 years, Purdue finished 22nd in passing yards per game in 2022. And then they were 5th in the country in passing yards in 2021. So assuming Tyler Shuck stays healthy for a full 12-game slate, I see a more pass-happy Louisville team throwing the ball a lot more this year, and I can see him leading the conference in passing yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you got, Froton?
Tyler Shuck, like you said, when was the last time we had a Brom QB at 10-1, you know, to lead a conference in passing, you know, something like that, where like a tried and true Brom QB. Never a bad idea. Yes, right. Tyler Shuck is not my favorite human being on earth. We know this. That being said, what are you going to say here? I mean, why wouldn't you take him at 10-1? Also, I feel like McCall, given, you know, it's NC State, you know, all that could be a good shot, but you hear so much about, you know, his backup, the sensational freshman, that, you know, that kind of puts him out of it for me. If I'm going long shot, I'm kind of intrigued by the Latin lover, Fernando Mendoza, frankly. Plus 5,000. I mean, they throw more than you'd think, you know. No, I'm just kidding. I can't. But I'm happy to finally get to talk for the first time in the show about what, like, a nickname I really want to get stick. Nate Rebel Yarnell. I mean, it's got the Billy Idol cadence and everything. With a Rebel Yarnell, you are mo. So I'm very excited about Rebel Yarnell. Just a nickname. I don't think he's particularly good.
Yeah, you know, that'd be awesome if Cade Bell could come in the first year and just turn that offense around for sure. The guy that I like here, and I don't know if this is going to be your second guy, Mike, or not, but Preston Stone at plus 1,200, I think coming into the conference, right? I think he threw for almost 3,200 yards last year. and now he's coming into the ACC. They have good, I think people are projecting him to do really well in the ACC coming over. I could see him even having to play a lot more, them throwing a lot more in the ACC than they had to against the schedule last year in the AAC. And Tyler Shuck, I love that too. I think if he stays healthy, then he's probably the leader. But if he doesn't stay healthy, which he hasn't, then I think Preston Stone is a guy that could absolutely come in there at plus 1,200 and lead this conference.
Yeah,
passing.
He was going to be my second choice. Couple of things just with him. I was just looking at Phil Steele earlier today, and just something that I read with him and SMU and his model, whatever that is. But he actually projects SMU to give up a touchdown more per game defensively this year. Obviously would help the SMU offense, right? Having to get in maybe track meets and shootouts there. So obviously would help Preston Stone in that aspect. But Josh, I kind of want to ask you this question, kind of pertaining to CFF more. What would help Preston Stone is a legitimate bona fide wide receiver one. And I know you subscribe to Bill Embody and SMU and On3 or whatever. Any intel there as to who that might be, if anybody, right?
I mean, I think they're really hoping that it's Jordan Hudson. I think it's Jordan Hudson or bust for them as far as a wide receiver one right now in that offense. I mean, they do have a lot of depth at wide receiver, but they need Jordan Hudson to step up and do more than just catch red zone passes, basically. So boring answer, but I think that's their best shot, And, look, I think Preston Stone can absolutely throw for 3,500 yards. Drake May led the conference last year in passing yards at 3,600. I don't see anybody necessarily, unless it's Shuck, get above that necessarily. But yeah, Jack Plummer too, a crazy stat looking at it from last year, 3,200 yards passing. And again, like this isn't even a team that really leaned on him that much, and he wasn't that good.
It's as light as you're going to get in terms of passing volume for that team.
Yeah. So I think Shuck's the easy one, and like to get him at plus 1,000 and then Preston Stone at plus 1,200. They seem like really good odds, which is why, yeah, I really like this one because it's like you can narrow in on a couple guys, and really I think hit a home run here.
Yeah, wouldn't go deep diving here with the ACC too, like with the Latin lover Fernando Mendoza or any Tony Buskett.
If I would say long shot-ish, Ashton Daniels would have some intrigue to me, but I like Elijah Brown too much behind him, and I feel like they want him to get the job, and Daniels too inconsistent. But like that Troy Taylor off, it intrigues me, and we'll get to that.
Yep, that's good. Okay. Our next prop here is the SEC receiving leader prop. And so we have our boy Luther Burden III from Mizzou. He's at plus 275, leading the way here. Antoine Wells Jr., plus 650. Trey Harris at also plus 650, both of those from Ole Miss. Dominic Lovett, who I always want to say Missouri, but he's at Georgia at plus 800. And then Theo Weiss at Missouri at plus 1,100. Squirrel White at plus 1,600. Isaiah Bond at plus 1,600. Eugene Wilson at plus 2,000. Jeremy Bernard at plus 2,000. Silas Bolden, which is an interesting one, at plus 2,200. Deion Burks at plus 2,500. And then we have Kyron Lacey at plus 5,000. Chris Brazel at plus 4,500. And I skipped a few, but those are the main ones on the board. I don't want to bore everybody with the Kobe Princesses of the world. So what do you guys got? What are some of your favorites on here? Because I think there's some juicy ones that could potentially lead the SEC in receiving here.
Well, that's the thing about the SEC is there's so much talent. There's so many plausible options to choose from, and you don't want to take the favorite and Burden. Like what's the fun in that? But then beyond that, there's so many intriguing guys. Like, okay, Bond plus 1,600. All right. Eugene Wilson, I mean, I love him. We've talked about him nauseum on this show. 20-1, pretty damn intriguing, but that schedule's tough for Florida. That being said, like down the board, there's a couple guys. You mentioned Kyron Lacey at plus 5,000. I love the LSU. I love the LSU value. Plus 5,000. I'm a Xavier Thomas guy. I mean, full-throated supporter of Xavier Thomas. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think he's the number one wide receiver there. I think he's better than Lacey. I think he's better than C.J. Daniels. He is the guy I am backing in the LSU wide receiver room. I think that's in hot take territory. Yeah. But I love him, and he's 40-1. Also, okay, 2 quarterbacks threw for over 4,000 yards combined, all total last year. Penix and Nix. The next in line, third most passing yardage was Carson Beck. You're going to put Colby Young at plus 6,000?
Yeah.
Where's the look? I'm intrigued. There could be a Georgia guy. I know they've spread it around, but if McConkey wasn't hurt, he would have blown it up last season. Who's saying we can't get an alpha to emerge out of that room and be able to, if Luther Burden gets hurt, at least compete for that? It's a big pie. It's Bobo's offense. They're powerful. They're going to smoke teams. I just think there's some value. I think anything can happen in the SEC, and there's so much talent. I like the idea of throwing $10 on Colby Young and getting 600, 20 and getting 12, stuff like that. I think you can have some fun here with the SEC. That's really the enjoyment is some of these long shots.
Yeah. Do you feel like, let me ask you this, Photon, with Xavier Thomas at 40-1, and then you got Kyron Lacey at 50-1, would you just, throw $10 on both of them? And it's a good shot that one of them leads the conference in receiving. They had 2 in the top 3 or 4 last year in the SEC between Brian Thomas and obviously Neighbors.
And you got Noose in there, Garrett Newsmeyer. What's the problem here? There's continuity. It's you've got year 3 of Kelly. There's a lot to like about that LSU room. And again, having a Georgia, the only one we have, right? Oh, we got Lovett at plus 800. Okay, fine. Yeah, I like Dominic Lovett just fine. But how high is he going in fantasy drafts in our best balls right now?
Yeah. And
is he a priority? No, I'd say Young's going before him.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too. You have Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors that were both over 12 yards per target last year, right? And obviously we know that Jaden Daniels can throw the deep ball, loves to throw the deep ball, but Garrett Newsmeyer is also a really good, deep ball thrower. So, you could totally see these guys both get a high yards per target. I could see this translating a lot, especially with Joe Sloan coming back there, as the QB coach and offensive coordinator. So I really like that a lot.
It's insulting that we don't have Nick Anderson on this list.
I know.
And we have Jaleel Farouk and Deion Burks. I'm a very good driver.
Andrell Anthony, who may not even play this.
And Andrell Anthony, what is going on? What?
Right.
Nick Anderson, 10 touchdowns isn't good enough for you last year as a redshirt freshman? Okay, no, that's cool. Now I got to listen.
Bet Rivers, man. Bet Rivers. What you got, Mike?
Jared's got Lovett at wide receiver 71 and Young at 105. Thank you.
Okay. And June ADP, yep.
But 800 plus 800 to plus 6,000 is the difference here in terms of odds. So I feel like that's
mine. I don't have any plays per se here. I kind of want to relate it to CFF a little bit. Not that these are end all be all or anything, but Antwain Wells and Trey Harris being at the same odds, just something notable, right? I think it's good for. I think you guys both know how I feel about Ole Miss this year. I think it's probably good that they're at the top of the leaderboard per se for for any Jackson Dart shares that you have. The other one, and I wanted to ask Froton.
Are you taking Jackson Dart from me now when I was taking him in the 7th round for the first 3 champion series, and now you're taking him in the 3rd? Are you taking him from me now?
You have to adapt with these.
Unbelievable. I'm just saying. Okay. I came out here and drove that bus. I'm the reason why he went from 7th round to 3rd round. Okay. And you're taking it from me, Michael.
At least it's not Jordan James in a second.
But I am going to grill you on something here, Proton. So
here we go. I deserve it now. I
threw
a shot. I got to take one.
We have spread the love for Eugene Wilson in past episodes. Yet you're going up in the 10th and 11th round, around that range. I don't know exactly. And taking Elijah Badger now.
12th round for Elijah Badger. Yes.
Can you go into the rationale quickly?
I just like Elijah Badger as a player. He's a good player. his yak yards, he averaged almost 10 yards after catch last season. And I stood on the sidelines for Washington, Arizona State. Elijah Badger almost ran me over. I'll try to find the clip, all right? He almost ran me over on a play down the sideline on a beautifully caught, little hole shot in between cover 3, and he's running full bore on me. And I looked dead in the eyes, Elijah Badger, and I was like, I don't want to get hit by this guy. And as you know, he's fully grown. Like, you look at him, he looks the part. He looks like Percy Harvin in pads. Sort of like muscular, like 6'1", brutal, like so hard to tackle, elusive, strong. Like pretty good in terms of his routes. Like I just think there's a world where he's a day 2 wide receiver in the NFL, and if he's going to Florida with an established role like Eugene Wilson has as the underneath Rondale Moore, Malachi Corley-esque sort of a role, well, there's got to be somebody who plays the stretcher role, and it's going to be Elijah Badger. They're paying him to do it. He will get opportunities. Billy Napier, as we've talked about, has to throw a little bit. I mean, he has to. So I like Elijah Badger. 12th round, give him to me. I'll let. And again, I mean, I was getting Wilson in the 6th round, and now he's going in the 3rd. I just can't do it. It's
so
yeah, it's high.
Here's the key to drafting with Eric Froton in CFF or Dynasty. Okay, he's going up and getting players that he's almost got run over by, Elijah Badger, and he's gonna draft quarterbacks that he's caught passes from in the 1st round of Dynasty drafts, and Julian Sayin.
That's right. I can be influenced by access. I can.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I laid eyes on Elijah Badger. Not a lot of dudes look like him. That's a lot of times you look at guys and they look the part or they don't. Like, as I said, Miller Moss looks like Beavis. His body type, everything. He's got short legs. He's got a long torso. He literally looks like Beavis out there. So I have 0 Miller Moss shares.
That's amazing.
Elijah Badger, another prop superstar last year. They just kept listing him at like 50, 60 yards repeatedly last year. We'll take it. We will take it.
We'll take it.
That's awesome.
That offense too. We know we were getting out of Arizona State besides Elijah Badger. But yes,
that's awesome. Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah, I think the last one for me that's just intriguing is Jeremy Bernard, just because I don't even know who the wide receiver 2 is going to be in that offense, and I don't know if Milroe can support him enough to lead the conference in receiving yards. But unless Ryan Williams could certainly come on the scene and just be a killer from day one. But Jeremy Bernard to me is the only sure thing in that offense. At plus 2,000 might be worth it if you don't want to go after the LSU wide receivers there. But hey, we're going to take a quick break and come back and go through the rest of our season long props here. All right. We have next up, we got the Big Ten passing leaders props. And we have Dillon Gabriel at plus 200. Our boy Miller Moss, who Bobby over here, he's saying Miller Moss won't be the starter come week 3. Jaden Maiava will be that guy. And then we have Will Rogers at plus 550. Ethan Garbers at plus 550 as well. Will Howard at plus 1,000. Drew Alar at plus 1,000.
Look who's at plus 1,800. It's incredible.
Yeah. Tyler Van Dyke at plus 1,200. Next up, Eric Froton made this bet.
I take credit for that.
This is Julian Sayin at plus 1,800. Hey, if you didn't know, Froton caught a pass from him at the Elite 11.
Did you? Did anybody know that? No, it wasn't in Elite 11. It was at the Carlsbad. It was in Carlsbad.
My bad.
It was after the Elite 11. I set up the session. I'm like, I got to catch some passes from this kid. I guess.
There we go.
There we go. He's good. He's a competitor.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm leading on here. God, guys, for Dillon Gabriel, I know I hate taking favorites in this, but man, it's going to be tough to beat him. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I was looking at this. The one I could make a case for, and it's only because I'm probably the only one making the case. I can't help it, but I love Tyler Van Dyke. As we know, plus 1,200, like 12 to 1. Decent. decent shot. It's decent enough odds. We're like, all right, I can throw $25 on this, get a decent return, $50, whatever. And there's a path with Phil Longo's offense, and they played way quicker than you expected Wisconsin to play last year. Top 30 rate in terms of play per second, and way more of a passing offense than you expected. With Malusi going down, that didn't help because they had to ride that slow, overrated Braylon Allen. But now that he's gone, they can whip up that tempo a little bit. I could see that. But beyond that, guys, is there anybody you can look at that you feel good about? I can't say Will Howard is perhaps plausible at 10-1, but this is Chip Kelly running the offense. I know it's Ryan Day's offense, but it's still Chip Kelly running the offense. It's Quinshon. It's Trevion. People's come in the third, late. I mean, God, I'm curious to hear what you guys think, especially Will Rogers at plus 550. Get out of here. What? I think that's what's more interesting to me. Is like, who thought Will Rogers is the third most likely guy here to lead the league in passing yardage? What are you talking about? And then, you got to love, Miller Mouse, plus 350, So that's all I got.
Yeah, follow that up, Mike.
I can't. Oh, I don't have that impression. I mean, Miller Moss is the only one that comes close to me in the projections. I guess if he sticks around,
Mayava is getting a shot.
I'm with Bobby here in the comments that I think at some point Mayava is going to get a shot here. So if you take Miller Moss out of the equation, my projections, there's a 500-yard difference between Dylan Gabriel and the next closest quarterback here. So I would just avoid this altogether. So Gabriel or bust at this point.
And Jared makes the point. Only way Rodgers wins is if Washington's game script is so horrendous it forces them to pass 50 times a game. I will argue if they're that bad, then they just turn the page to Damon Williams and get him some reps and say, bye-bye, Will Rogers. It was a good run. You're out of here. That's the other factor, too, where it's like, turn the page, move to the future. What are we getting out of him next year? I know we're getting out of DeMond, and Washington's going to the Big Ten. But, you're right, Jared. You're right.
Yeah, it's super interesting, too. If Will Rogers had a decent offensive line, then you can make a case for him with the receivers that he's got. But at this point, they're gonna be taking him out and put Damon Williams in by week 7 or 8. I think
drastically different. The entire team is drastically different. It's asking a lot.
Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke, I do like that at plus 1200. I mean, I do think that is an interesting one. I think particularly if Will Pauling is what he was last year, right? And they really hit their stride in the bowl game. But yeah, anything else here is really tough to go. Like you said, Mike, it's Dylan Gabriel and then the field. And you don't feel very good about the field at all. I mean, to me, it would be TBD next. Because I think we have him projected at 3,200 passing yards, and we have Dylan Gabriel at 3,500. But Gabriel, I mean, when you get two receivers, Tez Johnson and Evan Stewart, that are going in the top 2 rounds of drafts, I think that says enough about what we think about.
If Purdue had better receivers, it's still technically an air raid, right?
Yeah.
At plus 35 or 35-1 odds, that's a long shot that I would say. But yeah, we have no idea who's the starters there.
To me, and to me, honestly, insert a better quarterback than Curtis Rourke at Indiana, and actually, I would be intrigued by that because I do think that Kirk Cignetti knows how to turn even a bad quarterback into a good passing offense. But we just don't know with them going up to the Big Ten. It's just too much risk. But I do think in the future that's one that could be interesting. Okay, Big Ten passing leaders there. Next up, we got the ACC receiving leader. So we got Our boy X Xavier Strepo from Miami at plus 300, leading the way. Jordan Moore from Duke at plus 400. KC Kevin Concepcion from NC State at plus 500. Jacoby George at plus 800. Eric Singleton at plus 1100. Alik, Eric Froton, give me some help here.
Io Manor.
Okay. At plus, yes, there we go. Plus 1100. Antonio Williams plus 1500. I'm going to go through some of these pretty quick. Chris Bell and Colin Lacey from Louisville at plus 3,500. Taylor Morin at plus 3,000. And then you got Malik Benson at plus 5,000. And then Malachi Fields at plus 5,000. I skipped quite a bit there. So if you guys want to hit on any of those, you can. But those are the big ones that stuck out to me. Yeah. Anything stick out to you guys here as far as intriguing bets?
Sure. Well, this is the other one of mine that I chose to captain amongst the group. So I'll take this one as well. Strepo, I mean, you love it, but you just don't take favorites in these sort of things unless it's frankly the Dylan Gabriel situation we're talking about. I mean, that's pretty much the textbook example of the favorite. But my favorite of this top 6, I like Io Manor as we discussed at 11-1, and I sort of alluded to a little bit with Daniels, who I'm not sold on as a quarterback, but in terms of the volume and the potential for Io Manor to break and be the top dog here in the ACC, I think an 11-1 odds, that's a pretty decent shot of this group. We've talked about Singleton in terms of the schedule that you're dealing with Georgia Tech. Can't take him because of that schedule. I like Jacoby George a lot, but you got Sam Brown in town and Restrepo's there. Like, he pretty much is better off avoiding Miami. Jordan Moore plus 400, not with a changeover in staff and new QB. Just everything's different there. It's too much. Kevin Concepcion, 42 totes last year in terms of running the ball. Noah Rogers in town, just like too many other factors for him. So like, there's nothing I can really hold on to that's solid amongst the top group. So I do think with that, the lighting Travis Hunter on fire, and then you saw Io Manor's role grow and grow and establish himself as a bona fide one. He could be force-fed targets, and that's the situation that I want to invest in. So I am backing that. Down the board, dude, it's hard not to, along the same lines as Tyler Shuck. You got Colin Lacey and Chris Bell at 3,500. Well, yeah. Hey, if one of them gets the David Bell, the Rondale Moore usage share that we saw, well, how are they 35-1 in this? How am I going to throw down $10 and get 350 out of these two guys? You know what I mean? I'm in. Yeah. I'm in.
And what's
give me my 95 cents, Bainbridge, on Bet Rivers.
Yeah,
throw it down. You take half, and I'll take half.
It's interesting too because you had Restrepo and George, right? I think Restrepo had 1,000 yards last year, and then George at 800. But they were like two of the top 3 wide receivers in the conference last year. So we're not talking about like a high bar, like a threshold that these guys have to cross in order to lead the ACC in receiving here. Bainbridge, what you got?
So Io Manor is the top projected receiver for me in terms of yards. So I am in agreement with Eric on that one.
We did not talk pre-show about that. We did not talk pre-show.
I would, and also agreement, same lines as Tyler Shuck, right? Louisville receiver, somebody like, we don't know who it is, but hell, Jeff Brom turned an Iowa wide receiver into probably the leading wideout in the Big Ten in Charlie Jones. So somebody will emerge between Colin Lacey, Chris Bell, who that is, we're not sure at this point. Malachi Fields is the one that sticks out to me, probably, all that Malik Washington did was lead the entire country last season in targets, right? Do I think Malachi Fields is going to replicate that necessarily?
Great call.
No.
Great call, Michael.
But at plus 5,000, you got to at least sprinkle that, right? And he's probably
the best one on the board. Probably the best. Yeah.
I don't have the
Honestly.
ADOT pulled up, but I guarantee you it's higher than Malik Washington's last season. So if he gets
Totally.
the target
Hell
share,
yes.
right,
Yeah.
then there's a clear path to him doing that. So, and I know Eric believes this too. We are not believing in Chris Tyree this season. Replicating.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Just stop it.
Keep drafting him, Josh.
Yeah, dude, that field is amazing. And honestly,
Yeah.
Malik Benson at plus 5,000 too. Again, $10 to win 500. It's like, I mean, is there a path? We know they're going to throw. They got DJU. Their top two guys are gone. I mean, stranger things have happened at 50 to 1 shots. You know what I mean? Those are a couple of smoking 50 to 1 shots. I love the long shots in the ACC. I think this was one of my picks. This is why, because it's like, man, you can get some pretty live shots out of this for short money. And if you hit big.
Yeah. I mean you guys nailed it. I think everything at the bottom of the board. If I was betting this, I would Colin Lacey and Chris Bell are the two that I would take. Same thing with the LSU wide receivers. It's good odds. You know, you put $10 on each one, 35 to 1. I mean, that's $350 right there. So, yeah, any of those. Malachi Fields is another one. That's a really good bet as well. So I love all those. And for us and our projections, I think, you know, there's not. I think Malachi where I have like 900 yards, and then, you know, Alec we only have at 979, so it's not a huge difference. Even though he's the leading wide receiver in the ACC, there's not a huge difference between the two. Yep.
No, it just isn't. It just isn't. This is a ripe market, and I'll guarantee you this. Like, this is Bet Rivers, as we've talked about. This market will not look like this when DraftKings opens up. Correct, Michael?
Say that again. I was distracted by the soccer game.
Damn it, Bruno. No, I was saying this is Bet Rivers here. This is an open, but these aren't. You're not going to get these lines by the time the season rolls around and when DraftKings opens their markets.
Not a chance, and you're not going to have Malachi Fields most likely on DraftKings either. That's just a guess, but that speaks to the wide range of possibilities too on Bet Rivers versus the other sites.
Yep, absolutely. Selection matters.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break here and then come back and we're going to finish up the last two conferences. Jared asked, I don't know if you answered it, Jared, while you were on, but 35 to 1 odds for Chris Bell there at Louisville. So good odds there, particularly because I'm just not a big Ja'Cory Brooks fan personally. I think Chris Bell's
enough is enough on Ja'Cory Brooks. Enough is enough.
Yeah. I mean, when you run like a 4.78 40, you're just not gonna be able to do it. So, all right. Big 12 rushing leader is what we are at right now, though. And so no surprise, shocker. Ollie Gordon leads away at plus 400, but he's also tied with Devin Neal at plus 400 as well. Taj Brooks at plus 500. DJ Giddens at plus 500. Man, you just see the star power, right, in the Big 12 so far. RJ Harvey at plus 500. CJ Donaldson at plus 850. Mekhi Bernard, you have at plus 1,500. Avery Johnson, quarterback, Kansas State at plus 1,500. Cam Cook at plus 2,000. Jalen Glover at plus 3,000. And then I'm going to skip a few here, and you guys can address them later if you want. But Abu Sama III at plus 5,000. DeLon Hayden at plus 5,000. Parker Jenkins at plus 6,000. And Cameron Scatterbo at plus 6,000. And then one more I'm going to hit on here is Corey Kiner at plus 8,000. I am the one that picked this one. And while there is so much star power at the top of this conference, I think there's also some potential value lower on the board as well. And so, but what stuck out to you guys before I kind of share my thoughts?
Go for it, Mike.
Avery Johnson being higher odds than LJ Martin, Abu Sama, Corey Kiner. Right? So you're not going to touch that one, obviously. I mean, Corey Kiner is the obvious one that sticks out to me.
Yeah.
I mean, Cincinnati bringing what I believe all 5 starters back along
shocking.
the offensive line, right? This is still, we kind of talked about it with some other players like Tyler Shock. Like, this is still a Scott Satterfield offense, right? And
Yep.
he produces high-end fantasy running backs, right? And he's now got himself ingrained in the Cincinnati program, right? This is his second or third year, I forget now, but why not? I think he's the clear-cut RB1 there. Already crossed 1,000 yards last season. Better quarterback play just helps the offense all around. And I can't believe those odds, to be honest, with Corey Kiner. This is 1,000-yard back last season, and he's behind Quali Conley and Dallin Hayden. That one doesn't make sense to me. So that one obviously stuck out there.
Dude, Richard Reese is in front of him. KJ Jefferson. Yeah, it's
Donovan Smith.
Donovan Smith. What is going on right now? Right? It's just, yeah, that's another ridiculous line. Also, CJ Donaldson plus 850. Really?
Jaheim White nowhere to be found.
No, nothing. No, okay, all right, that's cool. Plus 850. Yeah, sure. But it does speak to the depth of the Big 12 having just all these solid running backs. Abu Sama at plus 5,000 sticks out is like, okay. I mean, there's a world, where that works out. Given he have the big game and then didn't pop. But like, dude, it's plus 5,000. LJ Martin, as you mentioned, Cam Cook 20-1. Hey, all right.
Yep.
I was surprised to see Jalen Glover and Micah Bernard relatively close in terms of plus 1,500, plus 3,000, with Bernard having a little bit of the edge. As we are parsing through the depth charts, just interesting to see how that's framed on here.
I mean, particularly, I will say this. I mean, Bernard could certainly be the back that's better in fantasy, right? Produces more. But a world in which he outrushes Jalen Glover is I can't see it. I mean, that's not really Bernard's strength, right? Like he's a receiving back more. And I will say that Steve Bartle from Utah 247 did pick Jalen Glover as his breakout player of the year, or one of his breakout players this year. And not saying that Jalen Glover is going to do it, but I just think Bernard is not the guy that's going to necessarily lead the team in rushing. It's going to be more of a RBBC. I'm not saying draft Jalen Glover.
He also said that about Quinton Jackson last season, which I did too. So, but
well, that's the problem. Yeah, we all did. But I'll tell you, watching those guys, Utah, watching those games, I thought Micah Bernard was the best back all around in that room. Now, can Glover, obviously, we heard all about him in camp, and he's a bigger guy. He's going to be able to handle the interior better. Bernard's good at following blocks, though, even though he's smaller. He has a way where he finds that daylight. He's smooth. He seems pretty elusive. Obviously, excellent pass catcher. It's like I could see a world where even though he's on the smaller side for what we think of a Utah back, he could do that. But like you're saying, will he lead it in rush? No. He's not going to lead anything in rushing. It's going to be, from a fantasy perspective, it's the full package. It's the all-purpose skill set. But I wouldn't expect him to be able to get that full heavy-duty load to be in this conversation here. It would be Glover or nothing if you're taking somebody from Utah just because of the profile.
Yeah. And I put this on this prop because of Corey Kiner and Abu Sama. I mean, those are the two that stuck out to me. I mean, and I'm not saying Abu Sama is going to get 250 carries, but like in the heyday of this offense with Matt Campbell, 4 times, right, between David Montgomery and Breece Hall, they gave their back 250 carries. And so there's a world in which, with Abu Sama's explosiveness, that he can get 220 carries and, average a decent amount. And so I thought that odd was pretty good. And then Corey Kiner, we already talked about him. And so, yeah, I think this board sets up pretty nicely. I mean, obviously you have the top guys, but nothing really there to go after. So,
I'll give you, looking at the board, I give you guys 4 options to choose. Which 4 players? And I want to see if we're in agreement on this one. For Big 12.
Oh, who would we?
You get 4 players, yeah.
Oh. I think I would go Ollie Gordon, DJ Giddens,
Sama and Kiner, right?
Yeah.
Those 4.
Yeah.
right? And we're not. I don't think we've talked about it ad nauseum. We're probably not taking Taj Brooks, right?
Yeah.
We think Texas
Nope.
Tech, regardless of which quarterback you think it's going to be,
No way.
Will Hammond or Baron Morton, right? Not going to be Taj
5-1.
Brooks. Yeah.
Ugh.
RJ Harvey, not touching it.
Nope.
Evan Neal, I don't know. I don't. It's tough to see him replicating.
But he's a favorite. He's the same odds as Ollie Gordon,
right?
I mean,
you're not
Crazy.
touching, right? So those are the four that I think we're all in agreement. The top four for us that we would go with: Giddens, Gordon, Kiner, and Sama.
Yeah. I do wish Cook was lower. I wish he had more of like Sama's odds because I do think he's a guy that could absolutely. Well,
Cook's intriguing.
Was it Amani Bailey that had 1,200 last year?
Yeah. Cook is intriguing.
Yeah. So plus 2,000 though is like it's not too rich, it's 20-1, but he should be probably more down in the Abu Sama. I would flip those if I was doing the odds, and I would like Cook a lot more.
Yeah, it's not Sama, Kiner, insulting is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Our last one for the night here is we have the Big Ten rushing leader. And we have Kyle Monangai at plus 500, who led the conference in rushing last year, squeaking out a Michigan running back, Blake Corum. And then we have Donovan Edwards at plus 600 here. And then Roman Hemby at the University of Maryland at plus 900. And then TJ Harden plus 900. Quinshawn Junkins and Trevion Henderson both at plus 1,100. Darius Taylor at plus 1,400. Caleb Johnson at plus 1,400. LaShawn Williams at plus 1,400. Katron Allen and Nick Singleton both at plus 1,600. You can see a theme here. They just picked two running backs from the same team and gave them the same odds. And then Jordan James at 3,500. Noah Whittington is ahead of him at plus 3,000. And then, Nathan Carter at plus 5,000. And then Kayron Lynch Adams at plus 5,000 as well. I think those are the main ones. Woody Marks at plus 6,000, and then I'll stop there. You guys have anything that sticks out to you?
Woody Marks being at 60-1. Not that I mean, you could sprinkle it, I suppose, but I wouldn't. It's just not one that I would necessarily go for. But him being behind like a Kalon Black, right? Like who's going to outrush each other, right? It's going to be Woody
both
Marks,
Michigan State running backs.
Yeah, right. Like Devin Maccabee, no, I would take Woody Marks over him. But I mean, look, the Darius Taylor at 14-1 odds, just it stands out, right?
Crazy.
He stays healthy. He was getting 27 carries a game when he was healthy. Again, same with Tyler Shuck, right? It's the health factor with Darius Taylor. I mean, that's it, right? System is proven. He's essentially proven at this point. So at 14-1 odds, like he's my highest projected running back of the group. So for me, it would be Darius Taylor or Kyle Monangai, who obviously has the highest odds on this Bet Rivers among the Big Ten running backs. So I think those two options, and then just I don't know, maybe you guys will speak on it, but no Whittington ahead of Jordan James makes zero sense to me.
I got a question. Where's Fegan? Where's Kalen Fegan in this?
Okay,
Is he even out there? Is he even listed, or is it further down the board?
Somebody else would have to look that up because I may not be able to see him. Remember, I can't. It being in Illinois, I cannot see
no problem.
that
It's
Illinois
more than
players.
Yeah, okay, that's what it is. That's what it. Okay,
So,
no problem. So I was like, God,
That's such a good point.
And somebody, Shane, our boy Clemson Shane, mentioned Fegan too. So shout out to him. We're on the same page. That being said, my favorite here is Ches Malusi. I think if he was better than Braylon Allen last year, Braylon Allen stinks, but then he got hurt. I think he could take that room over. It's not going to be that particularly hard. Tui Walker's there, but fine. If he wins that at 22-1, which I think he will, he's got a damn good shot. I think they could ride him pretty hard because he ran like a 10-6 or something, 100. He's explosive when he gets the opportunities. He's got the size. Like every time I watch Ches Malusi run, I'm like, why are they giving the ball to Braylon Allen? This guy has so much more in him. And perhaps now under Phil Longo, like we talked about Van Dyke, maybe year two they take the cuffs off him and at 22-1. I can't help but like that. And then at the same time, if one of the Oregon backs just takes the full load, I mean, Jordan James at 3,500 plus 3,500. Noah Whittington's ahead of him.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that's surprising. We're watching Jordan James go in second round in some places. I happen to have Jordan James shares and what have you, and Noah Whittington goes, but it's like that's a surprising listing to me to see him. One, both of them in the 35-30-1 range. And two, Whittington listed ahead of James.
Yeah, totally. I like that Ches Malusi call. I'll say to back that up on the Cover 3 Summer School. They just did on Wisconsin. Like they called out Ches Malusi as the guy that could end up as an all-conference player who might not be on the preseason team. So they're definitely hyping him up a little bit there.
I don't, not to be too disrespectful, but I think Ches Malusi got injured while we were doing this podcast. What has it been, like 3 straight years? I mean, come on. It's bound to have him to stay healthy. That's what I want.
Well, that's why he's 22-1 in Wisconsin. I know.
But my whole thing is that, like,
you're the one who took Tyler Shuck healthy. My God.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know, like Phil Longo, he will incorporate multiple running backs. Like that's kind of been his MO. This is not Wisconsin of old, remember? So I like at those odds, I'm not disagreeing with you with that. This is more a CFF thing, but like I see Tawi Walker being more involved than the Ches Malusi drafters would think. So
I mean, Braylon Allen got the load down the stretch last year. As soon as Malusi went down, he was the guy.
Yeah. I mean, I would say Tawi Walker, just his ability to break tackles is very similar to old kind of Phil Longo backs. So, but we'll see. Yeah. I mean, Darius Taylor to me is the obvious choice here. And then also taking, pairing Judkins and Henderson, if you want to do that and put some money down on both of those. Cause one of Trevion Henderson inevitably gets injured and Judkins just takes off and just runs away with it. Right. Or I think the same thing can happen with Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, is that one of those guys potentially gets hurt. And then the other guy could take over. Jordan James, I love that call too. Those are all very good calls.
Frankly, that's probably what ends up happening. Look at all these split backfields we're talking. What are we talking about? 4 powerful backfields with 50-50 potential situations. You got to figure one of those, something's going to give in the injury front, and somebody's going to get that full load out of that. The Oregon crew, Wisconsin, Penn State, and Ohio State, and they're all 11-1 or more. Yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty good odds if you want to pick one, especially if you look at Trevion and just assume he'll be hurt again. Well, the same odds as Quinshon for these purposes, it's worth a shot.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Darius Taylor is just so crazy. He's plus 1,400 because if he stays healthy, I mean, kid's getting 300 carries. He's pulling a Taj Brooks, and
it's the outlier.
The
outlier among all these.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yep. Any closing thoughts on these props as we're opening up this portion of our season, getting closer and closer to kick off?
I would say this is just a primer. We just looking at that sheet that we referenced, it's about 2 weeks until we get season-long props in bulk. So fill those bank accounts and get ready for that release. So
just a teaser.
Yeah. There you go.
That's all we're getting. That's all this is just us wetting the whistle on some of these. And I'm going to make sure not to talk about this again until we get actual props and until we let that market develop. I am going to make sure that I'm going to do my best to shut up as much as possible and give out as little as I can to preserve that market. So I'm excited.
So are you saying we're not doing another show where we talk?
We will be. We will be.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I'm getting my stuff in before we do, because there's the season long prop. Don't worry. We'll be talking about it. I love the season long prop markets, guys. I love them. So
that's awesome.
I get like butterflies thinking about them. 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Let's go.
Yeah, Bobby's asking, is that when they'll be listed on DFS apps too? I'm guessing he's talking DraftKings and FanDuel, so they usually get released at the same time.
FanDuel was around the same time as Bet Rivers, I believe, last year.
FanDuel always
might have been first. Yeah.
FanDuel leads every week. Usually FanDuel leads, and then it'll be Bet Rivers, and then Prize Picks or Underdog. They're pretty quick too. Sometimes they'll be the first ones out. I forget. They might have been the first ones out last year. Prize Picks. Do you know that, Michael?
I think Bet Rivers, because Mike, I believe you hit me up.
Okay.
And was like, season long props out, and it was Bet Rivers, and I was like, yeah, I can't do anything with that. So
okay, cool. Well, that's
tier
good to know.
to mine. Shane wants you to open up an account for him on DraftKings, Mike.
I got you, Shane.
Hey, 95 cents per play, Shane. It's all you, buddy. It's all you.
Yeah. All right. Well, dude, this is a fun show. I had a lot of fun learning from you guys and getting to talk ball with you. I'm hoping this is not the last time we talk about props, and I can be learning from you guys as we get into the season. And we can all just tail you guys and make some money this season. You, Mike, why don't you talk about what you guys got going on at the CFF site, and then if you want to talk for a ton about Fantrax or anything there as well.
Yeah, just the same message as always. We're open at the CFF site. Projections will help you with this, right? We have season-long projections, so it'll help you with these season-long props. And then we have, obviously, the CFF guide. So we are open for business. Check us out.
Yeah, just don't pay attention to their wide receiver 41 ranking of Travis Hunter. That's tomfoolery and nonsense. That being said, yes, you can see my rankings out on Fantrax tomorrow morning when I figure out how to navigate their WordPress system and take screenshots and paste each little tier of all my guys individually through. It'll take a little time. The rankings are all done. I just have to piece them out because you can't put full. I like having colored tables. I need aesthetics to be pleasing to me, so I have to have my tables and I can't just copy and paste them from Excel. So I'll have my full positional rankings in tiers, have over 300 players tiered, ranked, draft, ready on fantrax.com. I'm putting all my content for college fantasy purposes. And heck, I'll probably throw some some betting stuff in there too, if it's so relevant for the off season until I am back at NBC and rocking and rolling there for the preseason stuff. But focusing on CFF as much as I possibly can this off season. We'll be going to the FSGA in 3 weeks. It'll be 3 weeks from today, literally, where I'll be on a panel talking about the regulations for the stuff we're talking about with props and college football, how it relates to gambling, and how it relates to from a bettor's perspective. I'll be representing the bettor on a pretty big discussion panel with various local politicians from the Boston area who enacted Charlie Baker's totalitarian college betting ban in Massachusetts. So I will look forward to holding those people's feet to the fire. And I will be doing, like I said, the benefit for Scott Fish Bowl. I will be there for the Scott Fish Bowl Boston on the 21st. And I will also be at the Fantasy Football Expo. You guys know all that, though. I don't know why I'm bothering telling you. You know what's going on. Get ready for the wiffle ball. Wiffle ball's coming.
I'm
dealing. I'm practicing. I'm out there in the backyard practicing. I've got the target set up. I've got 12 wiffle balls, and I'm embarrassing my friends. So get ready.
Nice. Yeah. Hey, at Fantasy Points, we have a CFF preseason guide that's coming out. It's really a primer more than anything, where Froton, myself, and Zach Hall wrote up 25 player profiles for each position. We have rankings coming out, projections for those top 25 players at each position, and then top 10 tight ends as well. So that should be released, I think, on July 4th. I think we'll throw it out there Independence Day or right after. It'll be free. Just got a little bit for you guys to be able to see what our work's like. and see all of our projections. Because like Mike, we got projections coming out as well. And again, that stuff is like gold for what Mike's talking about, which is like props, season-long props. I mean, it's good to be able to look at Mike's projections, our projections, kind of see what's going on, what the industry's thinking on this, and then figure out where the edges are in the market. So, but hey, we've come to the end of our show. Thank you guys for listening. If you guys could like, comment, subscribe, hey, share this with your friends. Even if, this is not a CFF episode. So if people are into betting, like this would be a great episode to spread the love on what we got going on here. And again, when you have guys like Mike and Eric that are just getting canceled in every single state, you should be listening to this show.
Outlaws.
We'll see you guys. Yeah.
Props outlaws.
There we go. We'll see you guys back here next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, do small things with great love.
What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.